I'd like to call the August 9th meeting of the Edison Public Board to order. Let the minutes reflect that it is 7:03. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As required by the Open Public Meetings Act of 1975, adequate notice of this scheduled meeting has been provided to the public by notices given to the Home News Tribune, Star Ledger, Sentinel, and Desi Talk, posted on the library bulletin boards and website, and give it to the Township Clerk's office. Roll call, please.
Ms. Kraus?
Here.
Ms. Mead? Ms. O'Neill?
Here.
Ms. Pam?
Here.
Mr. DePasquale?
Here.
Mr. Rivera?
Here.
Mr. Alcantara?
Here.
Ms. Massey?
Here. And let the minutes reflect that Fiona Mead has an excused absence. All right, hopefully everyone has had the opportunity to review the minutes from July 12th.
I move to approve the minutes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Actually,
Any questions?
do I have to specify that we're talking about the, the open session minutes?
Yeah,
So I move to approve the open session minutes.
okay, and Tony, you second?
Yep.
Okay. Any questions or comments? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes of July 12th, 2022?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, so those minutes have been approved.
And then I move to approve the closed session minutes.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any abstentions or any opposed? No. All right, those minutes have passed as well. All right, well, it was another very busy month. Alan and I met with Ray to go over the timeline for the project at North, and we also met with the architect. The township is going out for bids, and we're hoping that we're able to have a special meeting on September 8th because the council chambers are available for that meeting. And at that time, we would be hopefully approving the contracts for the architect and the engineers. And the engineers are structural, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. And this is for the project at North. And what else have we done? Many, many things. The library is drafting a shared service agreement in order to clarify the services the library receives from the township. You may recall that we had discussion about insurance, and we also had discussion about purchasing agents, and that has all been clarified, but we would just like to have something that is very, very clear because it follows the recommendations that were included in our audit. Very happy to hear that the staff is going to receive professional development training next week because that follows what we had put in our strategic plan for shared services values. And we will also be having board training and hope to schedule a board retreat. Also going along with what was said in the strategic plan. So we keep that as a living document. And I'm happy to announce that the director is now going to include personnel updates in his report because we realized that we don't really have a record of promotions and new hires or any of personnel. So even though the board has nothing, we don't need to take any action, there's no approval necessary, but these announcements will be included in the minutes. And that is my report. So let's go on to the financial reports. Hopefully you had a chance to review the financial reports ending July 31st, 2022. Are there any questions or comments?
If I may, Ms. Massey.
Yes.
Included in the packet is something that I have started to work on. If you look, your first page says balance sheet, July 2022. The second page says Edison Public Library Budget Income Report, July 2022. That's followed by what currently is the operations and expenditure report that comes out of Edmonds, which is, you may recall last month, we talked that it doesn't accurately reflect this current budget. So if you turn the page, you will see a report that I'm working on that has an X through it. I thought that that would make it easier to discern. So I worked and plugged in our numbers as I've been working with Edmonds in changing our chart of accounts. So we're probably 3/4 the way done. So this is a much more accurate accounting of our expenditures to date. The lines that are currently the balance excess deficit in column G are the ones I'm working on to compare the current chart of accounts with the new chart of accounts. Because what we did when we did the budget that we passed, it is all with the new numbers. So we should then have this for the board from now on each month. We did plug in the payroll, for example, as well as the actual budget numbers that corresponded to what the board had approved. And so I also have included on the next page the payment history register. We keep a running total of what our payroll has been, and so that's a number that we currently have. So we are way on target with payroll. And the last piece is the bill list. I know it's a little lengthy, but I tried to give the board as much information as I actually have to work with, so that we're all on the same page. Sorry about the library pun.
No, this is very, very helpful, and I know that you've been working to get an accurate report, so this is really very helpful. Any other questions or
One request I
comments?
would have, I think it would help when the resolution on the bill list, if we include the amount in the resolution moving forward. That's probably something that I know other libraries, the auditor has actually looked at. So it might just be good to include that, so it's there for the record of what the bill list was.
I think that's a good suggestion, because we realize that we need to have minutes that accurately reflect information that we might need in the future. Any other questions or comments about the financial reports? All right, hearing none, then we'll move on to the bill list. Do we have a motion to approve the bill list?
I'll make a motion to approve the bill list in the amount of $137,151.87.
I'll second.
Any questions or comments? All right, hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Kraus? Ms. Mead? Absent. Ms. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Pam?
Yes.
Mr. DeBasquale? Mr. Rivera,
Yes.
Mr. Alcantara,
Yes.
Ms. Massey.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. All right, now we move to your report.
Good evening, everyone. I would just want to highlight a couple of things out of my director's report. The first is in consultation with Kevin, who is our new supervisor of technology and innovation. He is recommending that we go with Lenovo Chromebooks. So they're Chromebook tablet. So they would have a keyboard, and we'll be looking at seeing the availability of those this month. He's also been working on the Chrome OS, so he'll be able to manage the operations of these in case there are any issues. So we'll be, the board will be part of a test to see how these work, because as we move forward and as we reopen the branches, we may have less desktops and more loanable devices for people to take the device and use whatever they need around the building, which is the trend in most libraries. Ms. Massey mentioned the personnel changes. We want to include those in the minutes so that they're there for us in the future if we need it. And the two personnel changes for this month was Kevin Ruppel started on July 25th as a supervisor of technology and innovation. And Jennifer Goldfarb, who's been with us for way over a year, she was here when I started, who was a library assistant part-time, has now been, I would have to say, promoted in a way. So she's now a library associate full-time, and she's working in the children's department. And so she has a bachelor's degree. We're utilizing the skills of our staff where they would like to grow within the library. The bookmobile update. I think some of the members of the Facilities Committee has been aware that we are looking at several pre-owned bookmobiles, and I think Ms. Massey is going to talk about it more in her report, so I won't dawdle about that. The special meeting that we planned for later this month, we find that we will not be using that, so if you held that date on your calendar, we probably will be moving to September 8th. And the reason is that we will not get the RFPs responses back by that time, have a chance to review it, meet with the prospective people who are the lowest bidders, and come up with a contract. So that September 8th meeting that we have hopefully scheduled would be for the contracts for the architect, for the mechanicals, for the site engineers, et cetera, be presented to all of you to vote on as a package. The union rep, there has been some changes down in Ask Me, and the staff now have a new union rep who I've not had a chance yet to meet, but I hope that she will come and meet with us to talk about issues of mutual concern in the next week or two. So that was what I was planning on highlighting. Are there any other questions for Deborah and myself?
Yes. very quickly, and I'm sure I know what you were talking about, but just to be very clear, the grant you're talking about is the state grant that we won to expand North Edison Library, correct?
I'm sorry, the state grant
You're
that,
talking about the grants that we're going to have a special meeting for the contracts, but you just keep saying grant, so let's be very clear. You're talking about the grant that we won to expand the North Edison Library, correct?
yes, that's what
Okay,
those are.
'cause-
Those are the.
Okay,
cons-
because we do
that's-
get other grants, so it pays to be as clear as we can.
That's helpful, yes, I agree.
The other question I have is you mentioned in your report that we're waiting for quotes for an electronic sign for the main library and for the new van. What about an electronic sign for the other two libraries? Are we looking into that as well?
Well, the North Library, we don't know where we're going to be able to put the sign. The original design comes that pretty much that whole grassy area around the library, particularly on the Grove Avenue, will be part of the extension. And so the other thing is, even if it's not used, there's likelihood there will be fencing put around the entire building. So you really won't be able to see the sign. The idea in the drawing from our architect was to do something not more of a typical rectangle, but to do something tall and vertical. In his original plan, he sort of called it an obelisk, so that people would see that, and it wouldn't sort of blend into the building facade. So we're kind of waiting for that one until we have, I would say, almost till next year when we do the building. As for Clara, I'm not sure, honestly, this is just my opinion, that putting anything on Pleasant or Hoover is going to really help us attract anyone. If there was a way we could do something electronically on Amboy Avenue, I think that would probably be the draw. We do have a sign on Amboy Avenue right in front of the Chinese restaurant that kind of points people up the block. But that's pretty much the only signage we have there for that building, except for the sign that we have on the side of the building with our name and hours and things like that. But it's certainly something to think about long-term, where might be the right place to put that sign.
And would that be something that you could discuss with the township?
Excuse me?
Would you be able to work that out with the township? Would they be able to help you with that?
We certainly can speak to Sonia and the mayor when we meet with the mayor next week and get some feedback from him. Ray's listening intently, so he hears. But definitely, if we did something on Amboy Avenue, we certainly would need the cooperation of the township.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions or comments?
Special meeting is here, or it's a Zoom meeting on September 8th meeting?
This is just my opinion for transparency, since you will be doing contracts, and you may or may not want to ask some questions of the vendors. I would suggest that it might be better in person. These are 3 large contracts that you are giving out, and I think for transparency, it would be better if it was in person. That's just my opinion. But Ms. Massey would be the one to make the call. So, this room is available September 8th, and it's being held for us pending this meeting or pending a doodle poll by the board members to make sure we have a quorum on that day.
Yes, yeah, we have to make sure that everyone is available, that we have a quorum for the 8th. But I do agree that we should do this in person because it is, I mean, it really is a special meeting, but to be able to sign these contracts is quite an accomplishment. It's interesting to see how this whole process goes. You know, it takes a lot of time, a lot of planning, so it would be nice to make it a special thing.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Deborah, do you want to?
Oh, hi. Thank you. Yes. So Carolyn, the supervisor of youth services, is now doing some programming at North Edison on Wednesday evenings. She's here. And at the end of the month, well, this month we are hosting an artist in residence, Margaret Fanning. She's doing a pen and ink workshop. And at the end of the month, probably the last Wednesday, we haven't pinned down the date yet, there will be a reception with a showing of the participants' work at the library, the main library. We'll put out more information on that when we have it.
Oh, that's great. I do have to say that in the report, Edison by the numbers, I thought it was much clearer. I liked the way it looked. That was nice. So thank you for that. The only thing I do want to clarify is I did ask about the mention of bookmobiles. No, we do not have a bookmobile currently, but some of the books are still cataloged and tied to the bookmobile. That's where that number came from.
But as a follow to that, Pat and I had a discussion, and Pat asked whether that was homebound service. And I said we hadn't started that yet. But actually, I should share with the board, we had two people in the last 2 weeks. One woman who nicely emailed us and said, when is the bookmobile coming back? She feels isolated. And another woman that I've taken under my wing who I'll do homebound service for until we get it up and running. So I think there are definitely people out there that could utilize a pickup and go service who can't get to the library for a number of reasons. So we're hoping to get this launched by the end of September, first week in October.
Yeah, I think that would be an excellent service and really appreciate it. All right, if there are no further comments or questions for the director or assistant director, we'll move to the committee reports. And the first one, facilities. As I mentioned, we've had a lot going on with the project at North. We have bids coming in that the facilities committee are currently reviewing, and we will be meeting on August 16th to review the quotes, the design quotes for the project at Maine, the renovation project at Maine. And then, as you've already heard, we are moving along. All of the paperwork is in for the grant project that we received from the state for North. So we're making progress there. The other issue is the bookmobile. You probably have heard mention of the bookmobile the past several meetings. We did have an opportunity of purchasing a used bookmobile. One of the things that we're trying to do is purchase a used bookmobile initially, because we are going to have to wait a good probably 18 months to purchase a brand new one just because of availability. There were two available bookmobiles in Ohio at one of the companies. It's called Farber. We missed out on one because another library had put in a PO. I would like to make a motion because otherwise we're never going to be able to get a used bookmobile. I would like to make a motion that we authorize a purchase order for the available used bookmobile pending inspection by our director, and further inspection once he is there to make sure, and then that we could then purchase this bookmobile. Because if we don't do something at this time, we're always going to have to be calling special meetings, and we're going to miss out on other used bookmobiles.
If you don't mind, I've got
Sure.
two questions for that.
Of course.
What is the price on that? And do we have that amount of money set aside? I remember we did put money into a special account for this. I don't know if it's still there, but I remember years ago we did have a special account set up.
Yeah, we still have money aside for a bookmobile, for purchasing a new bookmobile. But this particular one, I'll let you answer the particulars, but I know we have money aside to buy a vehicle. Um,
The board put aside, for example, in this year's budget, $35,000. And the line says motor vehicles, it's not specific. And so what we would actually be doing is just going over that budget line. The two bookmobiles that we're currently looking at, one that Farber has in Ohio, and one that the Raleigh County, West Virginia Library has, are both approximately the same price at $66,000. The what we would be looking at if we did go out to Ohio is we want to make sure that what we get from Farber, that everything is up to date, because when we originally talked to them, there may be some need for upgrade on a couple of things, and also for it to be repackaged in terms of redoing the graphics, because things would be updated. So there's a little wiggle room on that, but I would probably say to give just to be on the high side, I would say you're looking at, say, 80. Not more than 80 if you would want to do a resolution authorizing the director not to go over that. And what I'm saying is, without my going down there, inspecting, go over everything with them, I know at 66, he had told us that there were some things that we might, if we were to purchase it, we might want to have them do, rather than bringing it here and have it done, because I'd rather have them do it. Also, the plus would be that once they're responsible for doing all that, do the graphics and whatever, that would include delivery. So they would drive it here. The one in Raleigh County basically is buying it from a library through a library consultant who's the consignment agent. So we need to go down there, bring staff down there, drive it back, do all that stuff. I kind of, the way the things are going with the quotes I'm getting for new ones, it seems very likely. I would say like 95% at this point, Farber has been coming in as lower prices and shorter times than the other bookmobile companies. And so it would be good for us to establish a relationship with Farber. And here's the other piece with that. Since we got this from them, we could, when we get our new ones, if we don't want to use this anymore, we could talk to them about taking it and putting it back on the lot and selling it for us. So I see this kind of as a good way to start the relationship. So I've been leaning to the one for Farber. They both have their pluses and minuses, interiors, but I kind of, I don't know how all of you feel. I kind of feel that I'd rather get something from a company that I know has been there than an individual library. Even though I know they're trustworthy and all that, I just like, if something breaks down, I know I can call Farber and say, okay, it broke. What do you suggest we do with it? How would I proceed? Because I think we then establish a relationship with Farber, which is a long established company. They've been around, like, I know them for at least 30 years, and they've been around way before that. So that's kind of where I keep going back and forth and talking to Pat, and we've been talking back and forth about this for like the last 2 weeks.
Sorry, one more question. Would there be any kind of warranty if we went through Farber?
There's no warranty because they're used. Only the new ones would have the warranty. So it wouldn't make a difference where we got that. but the warranty is that, they had said to us when they had a Zoom meeting originally with the facilities committee, if they drive it here and it dies, it's their responsibility. So if it can make it here from Reynoldsburg, Ohio to Edison, New Jersey, fine, then I think it would be good.
How much mileage does it have?
I can tell you, I don't have it in front of me. They're all, I mean, I might have to be able to get it on my phone, but he's been sending us, I think we have about 12 or 15 pictures of the interior, the engine, the generator, the inside, and whatever. So I have all those numbers, I just don't know offhand. I can get that to you tomorrow.
Yeah, it'd be good to know exactly how much mileage it had on it, so we know how much life it has left in it.
Well, I don't,
Yeah, the second one from Farber is a newer one. The first one that we missed out on was, I think,
you go to
20
Farber
years
Vehicles?
old, 20 years old. I don't remember.
Please.
6,000?
Oh, you can't
I
do
thought
it
it
on
was
that?
low mileage.
The second one is,
Okay.
this one that is available, I think,
Okay.
is low mileage. Yeah, the Facilities Committee did receive pictures and the information, but unfortunately, I don't think any of us can
Pictures only
recall.
tell one side of the
Of
story
course.
because things can be either photoshopped or they can certainly clean up
Exactly.
an engine, they can clean up the interior.
Well, that's why we
Matter of
would
fact,
have no
The mechanics
interest.
of it, we went through, hell with the last bookmobile, and that was brand new.
Use.
But that's
Well,
why we
remember
wouldn't.
Yeah, we wouldn't
We
buy one
wouldn't buy
without
it unless we
inspecting.
had it inspected.
Right.
Go down.
I mean, I would
That's it.
definitely
Click
support
on that one.
the resolution at, the maximum of an $80,000
That's it.
amount. I would lean towards going to Farber also. I mean, when we spoke to
Okay.
the gentleman from Farber, I mean, I know he was a salesman, but, he went into so much detail about the new ones and you talked a lot about this used one that we weren't able to get. And as Alan said, I did research on the company, and they do everything from stuff for the government to large companies to, I mean, they just do, I would be shocked if they, did anything that wasn't right with giving us a used one. And especially like Alan said, with, the driving the distance to us, the thing fails, then that's their problem. But, we're in a position where we're going to be waiting 18 months to get a new one. Our community needs a bookmobile. It's been years that they need one. And my whole thought was, even if we say we spent the 70,000 on it and we needed to put, something fail, and I even asked actually the gentleman, I said, what would be the most expensive thing that would fail? And he said, well, the transmission would cost you like 25 grand if it failed. But it's low mileage on this. I don't remember what it was, but it was pretty low. But again, you're talking about $300,000 for a brand, $330, I think it was, for a brand new
A
one.
brand new one.
So if we're gonna buy one for, say, 70 or 80, and the most expensive is putting 25,000 into it, we're up to 100,000. Okay, so now we have one that's used with a brand new transmission, and we have something now for the community. If it lasts us a year, lasts us 2 years, lasts us 3 years, great. It buys us time to get this new one. So I feel it's money worth spent to do that and give the authorization to the library director to, obviously, he's wants what's best for the library and for us, so he's obviously not gonna just go in and just choose something.
And may I just,
Well, then Pat just made the
the
motion.
mileage is 33,633.
There you go.
That's
Excellent.
It was
fantastic.
2006. It was from Virginia Beach, and Virginia Beach, Virginia. And so what I quite figure, the reason for low mileage is, it's an urban area. So they were not doing, not doing like a rural bookmobile service. They're a metropolitan area. So it's got low mileage, and I think they had more than one vehicle too. A lot of the folks that do bookmobile service, it's very rare you ever have one vehicle. When you're doing bookmobile service, you're buying more than one over the years because the need is great. So I'm just gonna, I was
Is it a
just.
full-size one, or is it a smaller van?
Oh, no,
type?
this
No,
is
this
a
is a
full-size
full-size
one.
one.
It's a
It's a
full-size one?
full-size one.
Yep, this is a
Yes.
full bookmobile, which is what we need so that we can, part of this is to do bookmobile service and get that up and running. Part of it is we're going to need several different mechanisms when we close north to ensure that the entire north side of Edison has book service. And we need a big vehicle. Small vehicles are used for homebound service. They're used for going to nursing homes or doing deliveries to, say, a senior housing facility in which you roll off carts. Large bookmobiles are the ones that really do the stops. So we need to do the quantity and get the books in here so we can get them out to the people. The North Edison branch is our busiest branch, and we really need to make sure that we have a way to touch base with as many people as possible when we potentially close next year for anywhere from 6 months to 9 months. So there are other options, including putting also a trailer and other things in the lot. But the more we can get out with the library, the better it will be for us long-term.
Do you know why the library that had it first has returned it or sold it back to
They
Farber?
bought a new one. That's
Bought a
whatever.
brand new one?
Yeah.
So they had one with only 33,000 miles on it, and they really needed a brand new one for an urban area?
That's up to them.
We don't
Here's
know.
the other
know.
one.
But anyway, I will amend my motion to authorize the director to pursue a used bookmobile not to exceed $80,000, and that he would actually inspect the vehicle before any kind of purchase, but that we would be approving a
Just for the,
purchase order.
This is just to approve a purchase order. It's not approving the purchase of it?
No, it's approving a purchase order so that we could hold this vehicle
Kind
because,
of like putting a down payment on it.
exactly,
No, 'cause
exactly.
I'd like
Favor
to
of
second
down
the
payment,
motion.
but not a purchase of it right now without knowing more specifics about it.
No, the
But you're
purchase.
authorizing the director to purchase it as long as it passes inspection.
Right, so basically, the purchase order holds that vehicle for us till I get to go there and look at it, and then make the final decision.
Mechanic, I hope,
Excuse me?
with the mechanic.
We will
Check for
find,
oil
we'll find
leaks.
an independent mechanic. I think you can tell once it gets driven how it is. And even though I don't have a CDNL, there are people there, Brock will find someone for me to drive around with the bookmobile. It's got diesel in it, so we'll be able to do that there. I don't think the town would authorize someone from DBW to come and take a trip with me to Reynoldsburg. No. Basically what we have to do is, like you do any other thing, is do our best judgment and do our due diligence. That's all we can do in buying a vehicle. And I'm going to say this, it's even a new vehicle sometimes, as we all know, and we've had that experience here, doesn't pan out as well. So I think that was a good lesson learned. And
That's why I said, check for oil leaks. Remember?
Right, I remember. All right, so we have a motion, and
I
Lisa
did
seconded.
I do apologize. I thought you were done speaking when I started speaking.
Oh, no, that's
I
fine.
didn't mean to speak over you.
Do we have any other questions or comments? All right, hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Kraus,
Yes.
Ms. O'Neill,
Yes.
Ms. Pan,
Yes.
Mr. Di Pasquale,
Yes.
Mr. Rivera,
Yes.
Mr. Alcantara,
Yes.
Ms. Massey.
Yes,
Motion carries.
okay. Then we have the Finance Committee.
Well, the Finance Committee did not meet separately in this past month, but I know Alan does have some things he wanted to accomplish that he has under new business about a different part of the bank account. Do you want to talk about that now, or wait till we get to new business?
We can talk about, no, that was actually your suggestion, if you recall from the last board meeting.
Yes.
That we were going to set up a separate bank account to put the monies in. And
So we
so,
can have a lot of, make sure that all the i's are dotted and the t's are crossed.
yes, and the reason I'm doing it at this board meeting is I'd like to get that new bank account set up with TD Bank, do the transfer, and I would probably most likely need either you and Ms. Massey to go to us. So that gives us a little time before the board
Yeah, that's fine.
approves the contract next month.
Serge can actually, we can do pretty much it without everybody even going. I can pick up the paperwork and bring it to you and sign it and drop it off for Serge. He's the manager, and he knows this all very well.
Okay. All right, so we have a resolution to establish a new bank account with TD Bank for our North Edison branch construction project. Do we have well,
I'll second it.
all right. So that, I made the motion, you seconded it. Do we have any further questions or discussion? All right, hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Kraus?
Yes.
Ms. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Pam?
Yes.
Mr. Di Pasquale?
Yes.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Alcantara?
Yes.
Ms. Massey?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, and then going along with that, Sue, do you want to make the resolution to move $1.5 million from the capital account to the new North Edison Branch Construction Project Bank account?
Well, we just call it the construction bond account, because isn't that the Construction Bond Act?
Yeah,
You want to call it North Edison? Whatever you want to call it.
well, the new North Edison Branch, yeah, what would you prefer?
Gotta have
Do you want?
something a little bit shorter that you're going to be
True.
putting on the paperwork, so.
That's true.
Well, I don't think TD Bank knows what it is. It's just
Well,
going to
no,
be
but
another
I'm talking
account.
about for our internal
Yeah.
purposes and when we
The
have
North
our
Edison
meetings.
Branch, North Edison Grant?
NE,
Grant?
NE construction.
Sure,
Grant.
grant.
Okay, so I make a motion that we move the 1.5 million to the new account for the North Edison construction.
I second.
Any questions or comments on that? All right, hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Kraus?
Yes.
Ms. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Pam?
Yes.
Mr. Di Pasquale?
Yes.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Alcantara?
Yes.
Ms. Massey?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, and then under committees, I just want to make a note that when we updated the bylaws, we did put materials review under policies and bylaws. All right, so we don't really need to list materials review separately now. Right? Yeah. Okay.
Policies and bylaws and materials are the same thing.
Yes, yeah, that's why we had moved it under there.
Should in the future, should I just do it as a little number under that, change that around?
I think so, yeah, I think so, because it's not a separate committee. It's, we don't want to like remove it completely, but it is under policies and bylaws.
A subcommittee.
I think you can actually just, like, you don't need to list it under
Yeah, you
policies
don't
and
need to
bylaws
list
because
it.
it's part of policies and bylaws.
In the bylaws, it's listed in the bylaws.
So you can just delete C, change it,
C.
take C out and, re-letter them.
All right, and then personnel.
Okay, the Personnel Committee did meet. We met on July 27th, but there were some, issues that Alan had brought to our attention, which is what our good director is supposed to do and keep us informed. But as always, the board does not get involved in any of the day-to-day operations. Just know that we are aware, and in accordance with our policies, we don't discuss personnel matters any further. But we are aware of everything that is happening. Okay?
Thank you. And then policies and bylaws, we don't have any report for that. And strategic planning, we don't really have any report for that, although, as you know, with our staff training and our upcoming board training, we are doing whatever possible to keep our strategic plan alive and really a living document. All right, do we have any unfinished business? I don't think so. We have new business. All right. Yeah, we took care of A, we took care of B. Now, we have a resolution to apply for a grant from the New Jersey State Library for $20,000 for literacy programs. Do we have a second to that resolution?
Second.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments about that?
I'd just like to say that we'd like to thank the township for helping us get this grant done. We've been working with Melanie Filosa, who's the senior grants manager from Millennium Strategies. So thank you very much to the township for helping us to be done. The grant is due on Friday, and she's working on final reviews. It's going to help us get started with ESL and other literacy programs, including family literacy, as a good kickstart for us. So we want to thank the township for their support in this project.
Yes, yeah, thank you for saying that. All right, so do we have, I have lost track here. I read the resolution. Do we have a second?
Second.
Yes, thank you very much. If there are no further questions or comments, roll call vote.
Ms. Kraus,
Yes.
Ms. O'Neill,
Yes.
Ms. Pam,
Yes.
Mr. DePasquale,
Yes.
Mr. Rivera,
Yes.
Mr. Alcantara,
Yes.
Ms. Massey.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. And the final item under new business is a resolution establishing procedures relating to providing information consent in conjunction with insurance coverage. Now, I know that you included the entire resolution in our packet. Is it necessary to read it?
I would defer to council on that matter.
This is the,
Everybody could probably, I think everybody can read it on their own and then.
okay. All right, so that I think it really summarizes what you have here. So I move that we establish procedures relating to providing information and consent in conjunction with insurance coverage.
Okay, now this insurance coverage, what insurance coverage? Is it involving the building, the contents, or personnel, or board members?
This is basically, if you recall what Mr. Brody was talking about, which was in the future, if there were either inquiries in regards to any kind of potential litigation or questions or whatever, as long as they did not involve dollars, they would be handled by the attorney and the director. In the event that there was any kind of settlement needed, it would go to the board. So this was to streamline, I believe.
What we discussed about last month.
Yes. So
That
as you
insurance
recall.
coverage, I wasn't sure, because we still need to deal with a lot of the buildings and insurance coverage with that and the contents. So I just wanted to make sure it was just separate and it's only for that.
This is for any kind of insurance issue that we may come up with. Someone falling and wanting to sue the library because they tripped in the library as well. You know, if the JIF is going to cover it, it may not have to go to the board for them to agree or not agree to a settlement, as long as, in the case, there's nothing coming out of the library's budget. So as long as there's nothing that the library itself had to do, that was my understanding.
As long as there's no expense to the library, then it would give the director, in consultation with the attorney, the ability to make certain decisions, make certain approvals, or give information. But if it does involve an expense to the library, then that has to be approved by the board.
I'd like to second the motion.
Any further questions or comments? All right, hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Kraus,
Yes.
Ms. O'Neill,
Yes.
Ms. Pam,
Yes.
Mr. DeBasquale,
Yes.
Mr. Rivera,
Yes.
Mr. Alcantara,
Yes.
and Ms. Massey.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. All right, now it's now time for public comment. Do we have any? Yes.
I think it needs to go, is it on?
Hello, okay.
There you
it's
go.
on. Okay, first off, I wanted to ask something about the bookmobile, because I know we had problems with getting people to do long bookmobiles, and I know that they're even making RVs smaller now. Even though we do need that bookmobile, but I don't want it to become a problem that we don't have someone with a CDL, on it. I like to make sure we have like a couple of people on staff for that, and we, give a suitable salary that somebody will want to really do the CDL. And then I wanted to know, was TD Bank giving us the best rate for our money that we're putting in there out of all the banks that we checked?
Actually, that's determined by, federal law and stuff, what the rate is going to be.
Good. And also, when I'm speaking about inclusion, I'm hoping that the library in September and October reflects Hispanic heritage and Diwali. Diwali's like at the end of October, but I'm hoping that when I walk in all three libraries, I'll know that this is Hispanic Heritage Month, and I'll know that Diwali is happening at the same time going on. So I just like things to be more and more inclusive. And then I was looking at this and I was saying, do we have on the main branch, do we have any bilingual Hispanic English, any story times over on that side? Yeah.
Not at this time. We have Chinese,
I'm
English,
saying
and
that,
we
I'm
have
just saying
Tagalog.
that for
Yeah.
suggestions, because I've spoken to people from Linden now and different sides of the town. And, I try to go out and I want to encompass everyone. I want everybody to be, I tell you, diversity is great, but inclusion is better. So I want everybody to be included.
Would that be better to be done at the main library or the North Branch? What do you
Well,
think?
I think at the main library, because of the proximity where it is on the south side, where we
Okay.
have like a great deal more Hispanic people on that side of town at all. And I just want to know, like when I walk into libraries, I say, oh, and these are selections so that other people are engaged and informed about other people, so they'll know, oh, this is Hispanic Heritage Month, this is what they're doing. Oh, this is why they celebrate Diwali, I want people to like all, know, like when they walk up and they converse with other people that, I don't know, I just think that people should be educated about other people. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
If I can just add a few things. We currently have 3 staff members with CDNL licenses, and the person who, actually a 4th person who had been in our bookmobile service, when I spoke to her about the potential of getting the bookmobile, she really wants to go back on the bookmobile, and she really would like, she's going to go back and get her CDNL. So we'll have 4 staff members who have CDNL licenses on our staff, which will work out great for vacations and split shifts. We've seen a big increase as inflation has gone up and interest rates have gone up. We've seen a big difference this month as reflected in our financials for our interest earned from TD Bank. So we're really, really happy with that. And so we are currently working on the Hispanic Heritage Month, and we'll make sure we don't forget Diwali, of
Okay,
course.
well, and one other thing is the main library and the North Library both border on schools, and that's how they can get a lot of people. But our Clara Barton Library, like you said, it needs a neon sign or something, because it's really, I think the only school is like down through the woods, it would be Monroe. But it's not on a middle school or a high school that borders on it. That's the group we have to get for them to come over to the Clara Barton section.
Well, I will say that Erin's been very successful in getting her middle schoolers who enjoy playing video games.
Yeah.
And so they're there 1 or 2 afternoons a week. The other thing that we are doing in the fall is that we are equalizing programming in all 3 branches. And so for the first time in probably anyone's memory, Clara Barton will have programs going on there every day of the week. So 6 days a week, just like the others will be. Now that we're getting more staff, we're able to gear up again and have programs. And so I did talk also with Council President Coyle when we had Night Out. So I'm going to follow up with him about Clara Barton to see what help he can give in his position as the president of the chamber. And as you know, he knows everyone in Clara Barton. And so we want to get everyone to come in, and maybe we can get him to co-sponsor some events at the Clara Barton branch, bringing people up the block. So we'll work with him. We want to make sure everyone finds, and Clara Barton to me is a gem that we need to keep promoting to people. I will say last year when we had the Fall Festival, things are changing in the neighborhood.
I told you demographics.
Yeah, and the people that we met were all mothers and fathers with young families moving into that neighborhood. We're all looking for their closest library. So I will say it's not dramatic as if it was day or night, but I would say the circulation and the use of the building is going up slightly. It's certainly a lot more than a year and a half. So I think Clara will never be, given the constraints it has, as busy as the other 2, but it's certainly a lot busier than it was 6 months from now, which I think is a good thing.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment? All right, hearing none, we'll close the public portion. Do we have any announcements? The only thing I would like to say is that September is library card sign-up, so I do believe that we'll be promoting library cards in the schools, and we hope that everybody in the township winds up having a library card. All right. We don't have a need for a closed session. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Excellent. All right, I just want to mention that the next meeting is hopefully Tuesday, September 8th, and our next regular meeting is Wednesday, September 21st. So we'll make sure, we'll hear from everybody to make sure that September 8th is going to work.
September 8th is a Thursday.
A Thursday, sorry, Thursday. We'll make sure that September 8th is convenient and that we can have a quorum. And then the next regular meeting will be on the 21st. All right, so we had a motion, we had a second. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.